That's right. The big story at the moment, 11 people, at least 11 people have been killed, 47 injured in the Bengaluru Stampede. Those images that you saw on your screen a short while ago when a drain slab collapsed outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium's gate number 5, leading to that stampede, even as massive crowds had gathered to celebrate Royal Challenger Bengaluru's victory in the IPL last night. The Chief Minister Siddaramaiah claims the crowd was very large and uncontrollable. The Chief Minister has announced 10 lakh compensation for the deceased. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condoled the stampede deaths. But the truth of the matter is there are several questions unanswered. This is a stampede surely that could have been prevented. Why was the Karnataka administration caught napping? Why was it that despite police permission not being granted initially, was such a large crowd allowed to assemble at the KSCA Chinnaswamy Stadium? And importantly, once the news of the stampede trickled in, why did the celebration still continue? Lots of questions, including primarily the question of accountability. Joining me now, Sagai Raj, live from Bengaluru. Nagarjun Dwarkanath, our Bengaluru Bureau Chief, is also live. Apurva Jayachandran is also live from outside the Bowring Hospital in Bengaluru. First to you, Nagarjun, please tell us that central question, who is accountable? I am now being told the police said no to a motorcade, allowed the celebrations to be restricted to the Vidhan Saudha first and then the Chinnaswamy Stadium. But was the government not prepared for the large surge of crowds, or was this a temporary slab that collapsed because of gross negligence?
The Chief Minister is saying that we expected 50,000 crowd, while 3 lakh people assembled at the stadium, 1 lakh at Vidhan Saudha. So total would be around 4 lakh people in a span of 400 to 500 meters, and hence it was outnumbered. The police were outnumbered by the crowd. And secondly, the Chief Minister also mentioned that the stadium event was hosted by RCB as well as the Chinnaswamy Association, the Karnataka State Cricket Association. How can we tell them to stop, irrespective of what our opinion is? We told them that the moment the deaths happened, DK Shivkumar said, I went to the stadium myself, I spoke to Kohli, I spoke to Rajat Patidar, I spoke to the Cricket Association saying, you have just 10 minutes, we have to respect what has happened at the stadium, let's wrap up what has happened in 10 minutes and go back to the hotel. It's not safe for the players also to stay back in the stadium and also respect what has happened, is what DK Shivkumar said. Overall, seems like it was unexpected numbers that turned up, but there, in the hindsight, even many congressmen feel that there should have been more police deployed. Maybe if the Bangalore City police were outnumbered, taken police from neighboring districts. And what the government is saying that we had too less time. 1 o'clock the match ended, and this morning RCB told us that they would have a parade. We told them don't have a parade, just have it in the stadium. And hence this miscommunication in between all of this. Police were clearly outnumbered, and the people and the fans were in 4 lakh in number.
I want to come at this moment to Apurva Jayachandran. You're outside the Bowring Hospital where many of the injured are already being treated, where many of them are young children, we are told. Some of those who've died are 11 and 12-year-olds. So clearly it's the young, the innocent, the most youngest among the fans who seem to have suffered because they just couldn't handle the crowd surge. Can you give us some more details in the hospital? How many people are critical?
Well, definitely, because the numbers that you saw on the streets as well as here at the hospital as well, most of the people who were injured were all young fans of RCB. One of the persons who had deceased was also a young girl, a 14-year-old child who had also died in this unfortunate stampede that had taken place. We're here outside the Bowring Hospital, and what we are getting to learn from sources is that here in Bowring there are around 7 people deceased, while at grievous injuries, be it a fractured leg or a splint or some sort of an injury or other that had taken place, unfortunately, in this incident that had taken place. And one of the important things that must be pointed out is that, the number of people who had gathered there, the fans that were there on the ground, they were, they were eagerly awaiting for RCB to come to Chinnaswamy Stadium. They had been waiting to see when they will get a glimpse of Virat Kohli, when they'll be able to get a glimpse of Rajat and the other players of RCB. So, 18 years long that they've waited for this cup to reach back to base in Bengaluru. But unfortunately, the outcome of what had happened definitely outweighs.
Look, you can wait for 18 years, you can wait for 80 years. The truth of the matter is, what has happened is unacceptable. Nikhil Nas, you're joining me even as ambulance pictures are being shown there by Apurva, ambulances moving in and out of the hospital. The BCCI, is it in any way accountable, or is all the blame to be shifted to the state government, Karnataka state government, or RCB, the franchise that organized the celebrations? What are you picking up? Was this a celebration, entirely a private event of the RCB with the support of the state government? When it came to DK Shiv Kumar lifting the trophy, and I'll play that picture. He's lifting the trophy in the stadium. Mr. Siddaramaiah is pictured along with Virat Kohli. Let's play all those pictures of DK Shiv Kumar with the trophy as well as Siddaramaiah. Please tell me, Nikhil, who was organizing this function?
Well, Rajdeep, it just can't be, you can't pin the entire blame on RCB, that's the Royal Challengers Bengaluru. I think, as you mentioned, the state government, they were there at the Vidhan Soda, then there were photo ops, as we saw at the ground itself, and it was a big occasion for the dispensation also to prove that, listen, after 18 long years, RCB have won the title while they are running the government here. So if that is the case, the local government, the local authorities have to be answerable for this. Yes, this was also an event by the RCB. At the moment, you could say that BCCI in that sense had no skin in the game because, as you know, you've had champions before this in the IPL, and on those occasions, you haven't had this sort of a scenario where there's been an open bus parade, or at least they plan to do an open bus parade.
Whose idea was it? If I may ask you, Nikhil, whose idea was it?
Some sort of miscommunication.
Whose idea was it? Because last night itself, there was talk of celebrations in Bengaluru. Whose idea was it to have this celebration of this kind? We haven't seen this in any other city after an IPL triumph. This is not an India team. This is an IPL team. Whose idea was it?
Well, this is, of course, the idea of the franchise, Rajdeep, but I don't think that the idea is a problem here. Just because all other franchises did not do it does not then in any way suggest that RCB should also not be doing it. See, the number of people that turned up to watch, I don't think the number of people or the fans turning up is an issue. The fans clearly love this franchise. The scenes that I saw today, the number of people turning up, for me personally and for you as well, this would not rival a victory of a World Cup standard. But in terms of people that turned up, for them it was as big as that. So I don't think the franchise in that sense is wrong to be planning such an event. We've seen it with other private franchises in other sports as well, NBA, soccer, they all do it. I think at the end of the day, the buck stops with the organizers, the buck stops with the state government. When you have a match here in Bengaluru, you have the state police, you also have the private security. You saw the state police here, you saw the private security also put. I think the biggest problem here was miscommunication. Now, what usually happens? What is the usual protocol? You have a match at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, 30,000 odd people turn up. So you prepare for that. The police personnel that are there are keeping in mind there'll be 30,000 people, and the private security is keeping in mind 30,000 people. This time, the miscommunication is you put a post out saying that, listen, we are celebrating, come to the Chinnaswamy Stadium. On usual match day, only 30,000 people that have match tickets turn up. Here there were 300,000 people that turn up because they didn't know how to get inside, or were there any tickets that were needed. Everyone wanted to be part of the celebration.
Yeah, but the state,
I think that's where the miscommunication
Nikhil, everyone wants to be part of a celebration. Then the state government, when such posts are put out, the state government should have prepared accordingly. Obviously, if you're going to give an open invite and lakhs of people, remember, come through the narrow streets of Bengaluru and the narrow gates leading into Chinnaswamy Stadium, then questions will be asked, of course, and rightfully so, of the state government and the local administration. Sagai, I'll come to you in a moment because I want to play what an eyewitness said. Let's listen in to an eyewitness who was there at that moment.
बैरिकेड के नीचे गिर गया था, ठीक है, उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे लोग फंस गया था। सो पीछे वाला जो रहता है वो लोग मर गया, 4 लोग मर गया, 4 लोग इधर ही मर गया। और 2 लोगों को सीपीआर देने के लिए हम कोशिश किया था। उन लोगों को कोशिश करने के टाइम में पुलिस वाला ने हमको मना कर दिया कि आप डॉक्टर नहीं है।
Sagai, you've been talking to a lot of eyewitnesses. What are they saying? Who are they holding responsible? Were there enough policemen at the spot? I saw images of just a couple of policemen surrounded by thousands of people.
Nagarjun was pointing out the policemen were outnumbered by the fans who were gathered outside Chinnaswamy Stadium, and government should be aware that whenever there is a match which happens, there are around 50 to 60,000 people, though the stadium can accommodate only around 35,000 people. So they should have anticipated that there will be more than a lakh of people outside stadium. They could have made a proper arrangement, no matter whether they celebrate today or they're going to celebrate on Saturday or Sunday or any other day. Definitely the crowd will be like this. It is a failure of intelligence. They should be aware that there will be large number of people who will be gathered, and accordingly they could have made some kind of arrangement. And people are who were there, they were frenzy crowd. Everybody want to get inside. The problem is that if they would have opened the gates in the morning, this wouldn't have happened. They opened around 2:30 and they said first come, first serve. There is no ticket charges, there is no money paid for them. It is free of cost. Anybody can go inside. So once the gate opened, everybody started to rush inside. That's when these kind of stampedes happen. If at all, if they had opened some morning, probably this wouldn't have happened. Sudden opening of the gate, many people jumped the barricades, many people gate crashed, many people even climbed the walls of the stadium and tried to get inside the stadium. That is the kind of situation that the police have to go through. Police even resorted to lathi charge. Thankfully, they resorted to lathi charge. That is the reason they could save more people. Probably, if not, there would have been more people who would have involved in the stampede and casualties would have reported.
You know, the fact is, though, that's a major intelligence failure, as you're rightly saying.